Welcome to Downtown Sports. My name is Downtown Stephen Brown, and in today's video, guys, we're going to be talking about Toronto Maple Leaf prospects. We are really close to 3,000 subscribers, and if you guys aren't going to get me anything for Christmas, the least that you could do is subscribe here to the channel, because that would be a really nice Christmas present. And normally when I'm talking about prospects, I like to use pick224.com because look at all the friggin' stats that we have to pick from here, but they don't have the updated stats for the players who are playing right now, so that's not going to be an option. And make sure to leave me a like on the video here because I did purchase a subscription to eliteprospects.com so we could have access to premium searches like this so that we could contextualize the numbers a little bit more and paint a little bit better of the picture. Would be nice to have the stats that Pick224 offered, but like I said, they don't have the updated stats for the players that are playing right now. So the first Maple Leaf prospect that I wanted to take a look at here is Rodion Amirov, and Amirov was selected 15th overall by the team in this past NHL entry draft. And the information that you're looking at on the screen right now, these are individual seasons of forwards in the KHL who are under the age of 20, going back to 2008, 2009. That's as far as it goes back, so the last 11 or 12 seasons. And it's sorted by points per game. And it's nice to sort it by points per game because it gives us a little bit of a clearer picture, but it would have been nice to have the per 60 stats there because it's really hard to gauge guys who are playing in the Continental Hockey League, especially guys who are only 19, because oftentimes the really young players, they just don't get the ice time. Some of them played 10 minutes a game, some of them play 15 minutes a game, and that's why it would have been nice to have the per 60 stats. And if we scroll back a little bit here on our list of individual forward seasons from the KHL for players under the age of 20, we will find Rodion Amirov at 29th here. But I would like to direct your attention to the player who ranks 10th on this list, Jagor Chinikov. And this is the guy that the Columbus Blue Jackets selected in the first round, and everyone was like, oh my god, who is this guy? And the thing that you have to understand about the KHL is that it's not that high a scoring a league. Players do score goals, but if you're looking at the goaltender save percentages, there are numerous goalies that are in the 930s and 920s. These are KHL goalie stats from 2019-2020. There are 28 guys with a save percentage of 920 or higher. When we're comparing that to the NHL, I mean, there was only 11 guys who had a save percentage of 920 or above. And when we're looking at Amirov specifically, I don't necessarily know that points are the best way to evaluate him because he's more of a two-way forward. He prides himself on his defensive game as much as he does his offensive game. And when we're talking about the Maple Leafs and their forwards, I think that fans could appreciate a guy who can come in and play two-way hockey as opposed to them getting a playmaker or a sniper. And if you wanted them to select defensemen, well, they got a defensive-minded forward, which is something that the team also needs. And when we're looking at Chinikov, yes, he was selected later in the first round than what Amirov was. Yes, he does have more points and a higher points per game rating than Amirov does in the KHL this season, but that doesn't mean that he's the better player. The Karjala Cup is a tournament that's part of the European Hockey Tour where nations like Russia, Sweden, Finland, and the Czech Republic participate in, and it's not necessarily a tournament where the top players from those nations compete, but there are professional hockey players here. They're playing against men. This is not a junior tournament. And Rodion Amirov and Jagor Chinikov participated in this. We're on the same team, Team Russia. Team Russia won this tournament, and they both had 3 points in 3 games played. But Rodion Amirov was named the top forward from this tournament over a guy like Jagor Chinikov. This is an instance where we can use pick224.com here because I want to be able to highlight what Mikhail Abramov was able to do in his draft plus 1 year, so in his first year after being draft eligible, to what he's currently doing in his second year. And in terms of even strength, primary points per games played, so that's you either scoring the goal or picking up the first assist on someone else's goal. In terms of CHL prospects that are also in their draft plus 1 year, Mikhail Abramov ranks 12th out of all of them. Mikhail Abramov's 2019-2020 season was in company with guys like Arthur Kaliev, who was an early second rounder in the same draft as him, Samuel Poulin, who was a first rounder in that draft, Ryan Suzuki, who was also a first rounder in that draft, Jacob Pelletier, who was also a first rounder in that draft, and he was ahead of guys like Philip Tomasino, who was a first rounder in that draft, ahead of guys like Peyton Krebs, who was a first rounder in that draft, ahead of guys like Jamison Reese, who was a mid-second rounder in that draft. Mikhail Abramov was drafted in the 4th round last year. And if we're looking at other players in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League this season there, he is 4th in terms of points per game. The games played totals for all the players are kind of all over the place because of COVID. Some players have only played 5, while other players have played 16. And if we hop back to his 1920 season, if we're looking at the point leaders on the Victoriaville Tigers there, he leads his team in scoring by 35 points, and the next closest guy there is a defenseman. So Mikhail Abramov deserves a little bit more respect, I think, because he's kind of doing this on his own. And if we're taking a look at the Victoriaville Tigers this season through about 9 or 10 games played or so, it looks like Mikhail Abramov is going to be on pace in terms of the points per game totals to lead his team by about the same margin that he did the year before. The Victoriaville Tigers think so highly of this kid that they named him their captain this season, being just 19 years old and of Russian descent in the Canadian Hockey League. That's a big deal. The last guy that I want to take a look at in today's video, because I want to be able to stretch this out over about a week or a week and a half or so, so expect this for the next little while, but Semyon Darginchinshtev, also known as Nick Robertson's line mate on the Peterborough Petes for a number of years, he's an interesting prospect. Because he's very, very undersized, even being 20 years old now and being 5'11" and 170 pounds. That would still classify him on the smaller side. And if we're looking at what he's been able to do with the Peterborough Petes over the last couple of seasons, they're having 75 points in 55 OHL games. The question has always been, can he do it against men? Can he do it against men? Yeah, fine. He's playing well against 16, 17, and 18-year-olds. Can he do it in a professional men's league? Now, no one is comparing Darginchinshtev or SDA for short to any of the guys on this list. It's nice to see him in this company, guys like Artemi Panarin, Vladimir Tarasenko, to when SDA is finally playing in a men's league, he is producing results that are encouraging. If he's able to continue producing at about half a point per game in the KHL, it'll be exciting to see what he's able to do in a lesser professional men's league like the AHL or the American Hockey League. So I guess the next question becomes, can he do it in a professional men's league with an ice surface similar to the NHL? Alright, so I lied. I want to talk about Jaegor Korshkov, and then I'm going to get out of here. He is 6'4" and 187 pounds, so he is a bigger guy, and that might excite some people. But I don't necessarily know what to classify him anymore as, because he is 24 years old. He's not necessarily a prospect anymore. He would still be eligible for the Calder Trophy. He still does have a rookie status, so I don't know. I think he is more or less what he is. By the way, yeah, he was picked in the second round, 31st overall. Don't look at the 2016 draft and see who was picked after him. It's a little bit frustrating, but you got to deal with what you got right now. And I mean, he did score in his only NHL game this past season, and he did have 16 goals and 25 points in 44 games in the American League. But we're seeing a big bump in his numbers this year in the Continental Hockey League, having 23 points, 12 goals in 33 games played. And here's a clip of him scoring what looks to be a shootout goal. Otherwise, that'd be a horrible, embarrassing breakaway if there was an actual defense behind him there. But Nick is describing him as a big man with some soft hands, and if he was able to fill that bill at the NHL level, the Maple Leafs would be getting something that they've lacked ever since JVR left the team. Different websites and different publications are going to have guys listed at different heights and weights. Maybe the Elite Prospects is an older report on what his weight is, but Michael or the Leafs IMO or the Leafs, in my opinion, standing at 6'4" and 214 pounds, he uses every bit of that to be a physical force. Here's him getting a little bit scrappy after a whistle, and you know what? These are all highlights from the 2019 Calder Cup playoffs, a playoffs where he only had 1 point in 9 games. And if you're not going to show up on the score sheet, you got to be contributing in some kind of ways, and it's encouraging. I understand why people respect guys like this, because if you're not going to show up on the score sheet, at least show up in other ways to help your teammates, and I can understand, like I said, why people respect players like that. And hey, this is a bigger guy who has some type of skating skill and ability, as he demonstrates on this play here, and I've said this about him in the past. If he is going to be a bigger guy with some soft hands, the Maple Leafs need to make it their mission. At the end of every practice, they need to dedicate like 15 or 20 minutes, just have someone absolutely firing pucks from the blue line with him standing in front of a goalie. Have him practice deflecting pucks, because if he can learn that skill or get better at that or fine-tune that part of his game, he is going to be a lock on the Maple Leafs' power play for a very, very long time, whether that be on the first or the second unit there. If you can have a bigger guy with this skill set who also has a longer reach, and he's able to take the puck off of guys like we're going to see in this clip here right below. This is an awesome thread, by the way, that I will leave in the description of the video if you want to go check out all the highlights here. This is going to be a valuable player for the Maple Leafs. Like I said, it's a question. He probably won't crack into their top 6, but he could be a very, very valuable guy on your third or your fourth line. So make sure to like the video if you did like it and subscribe for more, because more is always on the way. And guys, remember, we're going to be talking about Toronto Maple Leaf prospects here on the channel for the next week and a half or 2 weeks or so leading into the World Junior Championships. Then I guess I'll do a tier-based ranking system video, because it's dumb to argue who's the 13th best prospect versus the 15th best prospect in the system. Like Dangle's been saying, just make a tier-based system, do one video. But I don't want to overwhelm you guys and make a 25-minute video. That's why we're doing these shorter videos, and I get to talk more about each individual player. And hopefully you guys are all doing well, and I don't want to make the video too long here and jabber on too long, but hopefully you guys are all staying safe, and I look forward to talking with you guys again shortly.